Today, we're redesigning a 90s era kitchen in the Portland area. We've given 3 of our interior designers at Lamont Bros the mission of bringing out the true potential in this home. They were given creative freedom to remodel the kitchen in whatever style and whatever layout they felt would work best for this space.
I would say my personal style is more transitional, and then depending on the space, I can lean more modern.
My favorite style is probably going to be traditional. I like charm, quaint. I like when homes have built-in cabinetry that's old and has worn, and I like squeaky floors.
I think my favorite spaces to design would be anything that's transitional, but also like dark, moody, modern Victorian.
I would say my first impressions of this kitchen, it's a 90s kitchen, so it needs to be updated. White appliances remind me of an apartment, so.
Dated. It's dated. And the soffits were the number one thing. There's just so many of them. There's not just one soffit. We deal with soffits all the time. And nope, this is tiered. I felt like I was in a movie theater or.
Very specifically coded, from the 90s, 2000s. It was probably a really nice house at one point, but it was definitely dated, not the highest quality of cabinetry initially.
Preferably, yeah, getting rid of those soffits to kind of enlarge the space a little bit more. Getting rid of at least one of the walls for the dining room to make it open, because it looks like there's a lot of daylight in that space right now. And so just bringing that into the kitchen would be amazing.
I think the number one thing that needs to be fixed in this kitchen is the aesthetic. It just blends away into the house and has no special features, or it's almost like how a commercial kitchen feels, in a sense of you're there to do a job and you're not there to enjoy the space and hang out and have a nice time.
The main issue I was seeing was walkway flow, where in order to get through the kitchen, you were kind of going through these really narrow pathways, and it just felt really kind of closed and cramped because of that. And then secondarily, I just think that there were too many corners, lines, angles, and it made it feel kind of stressful.
The angles were off the charts. I mean, just angle.
And then, updating the pantry, it looks kind of small. Giving you more space would be great. Updating the appliances for sure. And cabinets and countertop. Nobody wants tile anymore on their countertops, so.
I decided to go with a pretty neutral color palette because I knew I wanted to have high contrast countertop, just kind of have that be the first thing you notice when you walk in the room with a waterfall edge. So I kept with neutral walls, neutral cabinetry, neutral tile. I really wanted to build a built-in range because they're really fun. I'm seeing them a lot more in design in higher end homes, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of showcase what that looks like. So that you've got niches on the side, also in countertop material. You have, a pot rail, you have backsplash, you have your hood vent. When you're looking across the kitchen, it's a little more just everything has its place. Everything's a little bit enclosed. There's no crazy lines or angles anymore.
One of probably my favorite aspects is this range. I didn't really want to have this displayable, stainless steel or cabinet material range. So it's a built-in range around a wall, basically. So you have this space that just looks like a wall, but there's actually a hood up there, so it's hidden, and it just looks like this massive display of quartz material on the backsplash. And then giving a massive range. This is a 40-inch range. This is not your standard range. So it's a chef's kitchen.
I kept most things in a similar location. I did move the range out of the island over to the back wall. That opens up the island. A lot of people are split on the decision of if you put something into the island or not. I'm on the not side, just because I like to have a large work surface for all sorts of different people and activities. I kept the sink in the same area. It's a cost savings to keep it where it is, and it's at a window, and there's not really anywhere else for it to go unless you dramatically change the structure. And I kept the window box just because I thought it was cute, and I put some glass shelves in there to make it a little bit more decorative. I kept the fridge where it is as well, but I did remove the double oven. A more decorative hood, dishwasher, and fridge are panel ready, so it kind of blends in and rather sticks out. It makes the range, hood, and I would say the island as well stick out more and have more hierarchy.
Yeah, so thought process kind of with the colors, there's a lot of wood, so I wanted to bring some warmth into it, so bringing in brass finishes and then having some gold veining in the countertop. And then instead of doing a stark white, having a warmer white, complementing that with a blue, because kind of your blue and your orange go really well together. Another aspect that kind of leans more towards the modern side is these waterfall edges. Having those on both sides definitely bring a modern touch to a finished end of a cabinet. Instead of just having your cabinet there, you have almost these legs on the side, which kind of bring a nice touch.
So I decided to move the sink to the island, partially because I really wanted a really open feeling kitchen. I feel like that kitchen was so cramped and so enclosed. I know that sinks and islands are not everybody's personal preference, like your dishes end up getting stacked up there a little bit. I chose not to put a workstation sink in because I feel like this is a very aesthetic kitchen. Again, maybe an Airbnb, maybe a short-term rental. And if you're not using this kitchen to like cook large meals in, I didn't really see the purpose. And I really like the idea of, with the dark countertop, using like a black granite or a black stainless steel and just kind of having it blend into the countertop.
So new layout, I got rid of a wall in the dining room to open it up. I originally tried not touching that, and it just kind of created this awkward transition. So being able to walk right in to this massive space with two large windows and having a massive dining room table, creates great dining experiences for Thanksgiving. And then after doing that, there was kind of that awkward wall, where the living room shares that wall also. And so I wanted to add some sort of cabinetry there, whether it be a dry bar or just extra storage like your china and whatnot. Just gives a little bit of extra space for storing things.
In the dining room, I didn't spend too much time in there because you don't really see it very much, but I made sure to have the hardwood floor go into there. I put the same wallpaper that was in the pantry, so it kind of continues in from there. And it kind of makes it feel like a warm, like a hug, like a warm spot to just have your dinner. It's cozy. A chandelier, curtains on the windows. On that wall that separates the dining and the kitchen, I did a little banquette area. While trying to avoid, there is a window on the side of the French doors to the exterior, so I can't put the cabinets all the way up against that wall. So I did a little curved cabinet on the ends, so it feels a little bit more like a furniture piece, but it's built in and it matches the rest of the kitchen. You'll have a little bit of counter space. It's not full depth, but it's perfect for buffet style serving, as well as a countertop backsplash. It's just a small height with a little detail on the back. It really feels like something you'd find in an antique store. And then a small curved end to mimic the curve at the bottom, shelf above. It's very shallow. You can fit a few small things. In the picture, I actually didn't even put anything up there, but you could definitely put maybe some wine glasses up there or even just a candle. And then I put art and some lights above as well.
Yeah, I chose to open that wall up because one of the issues I was running into when I was dealing with this floor plan was just feeling like the dining room was just like tucked away off in this little area. It was really nice and bright. There's all this natural light in there from those two huge windows, but none of that was like benefiting the kitchen. And I really wanted to add more natural light into the kitchen. I also personally really like that open feel where I'm not having to like go entirely into another room to have that open. But I also wanted to just minimize how many corners and angles there were. It makes the kitchen feel deeper and bigger. It allowed me to kind of wall off that hallway that was originally full of soffits into the living area and then put an arch in to kind of mimic that little arch door into the pantry.
I kind of wanted to incorporate the pantry into the space and kind of tuck it away. So it's hidden behind cabinet doors. This is kind of a popular thing now to hide the pantry behind cabinet doors. So it just looks like a tall cabinet, you open the doors, and it's a pass-through to a funky little room in this project. It's weird angles. It's kind of hard to work with. I did modify a little bit of the walls to make it a little bit more accommodating. But on that wall, there is a tall cabinet. So you do have pantry storage outside of the physical pantry. So you have a little bit more quick access items.
So it looks like it's a cabinet, but you walk through the cabinet basically to get into the space. And then you have all your storage. So it's basically hidden. It looks like cabinetry, but it's not. And so within that, instead of having your typical wire shelves or just normal pantry shelves, there's lower cabinets, floating wood shelves to bring in the wood aspect throughout the house. And then a fun little niche to hold all your spices. And then maybe bringing in some accent of wallpaper if you do keep the door open for some reason. And something you could do is like, if you really wanted to, is make those doors a pocket door so they open and then they will fold within the cabinet, so then you can have it open and not protrude into the space a little bit.
I went with a really dark, bold green in the pantry and then put a wallpaper on the ceiling just because I think with smaller, maybe uniquely shaped rooms like this, it's an opportunity to be like, let's make it a feature instead of the room that we don't talk about. It's an area you use a lot, you're in and out of it a lot, like there's no reason to not make it fun. It's kind of like a bathroom in my mind. The other element I added into the pantry was a countersplash and then also a shelf made of the same backsplash material. Just for continuity of material, it's a fun feature to have. It's really durable. See that as an area where if this were my kitchen, I would maybe be doing like baking prep work in there, or keeping some more of the like work of the kitchen in there, so I can keep the main area a little bit less cluttered and a little more like just visually aesthetic on the daily basis.
Inside of the pantry, there are some angles that are a bit tricky to work with cabinetry. So I've on the bottom done open shelves. Actually, all of it is open, but you can close it. So people who are more aesthetic can make it nice and beautiful when you walk in there, or people who are a little bit messier or not as organized, close the doors, no one will know. I did change the floor tile in here to be like a penny with the black and white, so it's a little bit traditional looking. Some decorative lights above, lights underneath all the shelves. You could even set it to where when you open the doors, the lights turn on automatically. Next to the pantry, I kind of did a decorative moment. I see this spot often used for junk drawers. I don't have a drawer here, so I don't think it's going to be a junk drawer. And it does have that rated glass again to kind of continue that over from the sink area. And also something that I pulled throughout the kitchen, you'll see behind the range is a beautiful blue subway tile. I did put that on all the walls as a wainscot. I just thought it added some color throughout the space, but more importantly, I think it's a visual thing and it kind of feels like it transports you back in time a little bit.
There's a couple of details like over the range, you have the arch there, and then in the pantry, there's a couple of like arches there, a little detail in a wallpaper and all of that. One other fun aspect, I guess, would be by the sink. It is a workstation sink with a, higher end faucet, Insta-Hot, and a glass rinser. These are really fun aspects to have, especially, wine glasses, baby bottles, all that fun stuff.
I know in my renderings, like I definitely sacrificed cabinet space for aesthetics. And that was a very active choice that I made. There would be definitely other ways. I'm sure the other designers that have designs that have more cabinetry in there. I made a very particular choice because I wanted to see how open I could make it feel. And I knew I also kind of had in mind like the client already. That was kind of just my vision, was to have it be as open as possible, not as much storage. Maybe this is a rental house, you're not cooking in it as much.
I did maintain soffits, or a single soffit, and I made it a lot more simple. So the ceilings in here are very tall, so it is hard to bring cabinets all the way up. Often what people will do is like split. So they'll do like a standard height cabinet, and then above that they would do a glass cabinet to make it all the way. Oftentimes people need a ladder to get up there and they don't really use it. So it's more of a decorative or long-term storage. I do like the look, but I thought, well, there might be soffits somewhere else in this house. We'll still pay homage to it. I don't think soffits are bad if you do it in a tasteful way.